Hello guys, it is Gative Theories here, and today we are back talking about Pixar and Monsters Inc. Now, because the monsters in the monster world are travelling to the human world, many people have started to speculate whether the monsters are going back in time and scaring lots of previous Pixar characters. For example, Andy from Toy Story, Riley from Inside Out, maybe even Darla from Finding Nemo, lots and lots of different Pixar characters. But there are some characters that have never been done, and today we are going to be thinking about the superheroes from The Incredibles. Today we're going to be wondering whether Violet Parr has a monster, and if so, what her monster is, because we never really know whether the monsters go and scare the super children because they're worried that, well, they could actually hurt them. But let's just assume for this video that they do scare the super children, because after all, if you can scare a super child, obviously it's going to create lots and lots of scream energy. So let's get on with it. Now, there's an extremely popular theory that Violet could either be Boo or Boo's mother, and this is basically all due to Violet and Boo looking very, very similar compared to Boo's features, and the fact that Boo seems to have the power of teleportation when she first meets Sully, with being able to randomly appear when he puts her back in her room. Now, the reason why this could be Violet could easily be she's using invisibility to appear to different places, but she would have to move very quickly for her to appear where Boo does, so that's what makes me nearer to thinking Violet could be maybe Boo's mother instead, as we know super children have powers, but slightly different ones to their parents. If Violet has invisibility and force fields, then Boo could have teleportation. However, Boo's young, so if she is a super, then her powers might not have evolved into a stable enough power yet. We see Jack Jack in Incredibles 2 have lots and lots of powers, but just because he hasn't fully evolved yet into a child, so his mind is like everywhere, so he gets lots and lots of powers. So whether Boo just has teleportation, whether Violet is Boo, or whether Violet is Boo's mother, or maybe Boo doesn't have any powers whatsoever and Violet just isn't Boo at all. But either way, Boo is a good starting point to working out who Violet's monster was, as Boo is quite similar, which is probably why people think these two could be the same or related. So firstly, what would Violet be scared of? And just watching the first Incredibles tells us loads all about her personality as a child. In the first Incredibles, she does seem a bit moody, and some people could say it's just because she's a teenager, but I strongly disagree, as she's a teenager who has superpowers and super parents, but she can't use these superpowers, and she can't tell anyone that she has superpowers, and this is all on top of the normal struggles that teenagers have to go through. And her powers reflect a lot of her personality, and this can be shown with a lot of the supers. For example, Dash is fast, as he's wanting to get into the action, always wanting to be the winner, so his superpower is speed. Bob wants to please the world. That's why he loves thinking about his days as Mr. Incredible, as he wants people to look up to him and think he's amazing. He wants to be on top of pleasing people, so he has super strength, as he needs the strength to do it. And there's lots more examples, and this also explains just why Jack Jack's powers aren't fully evolved, as his personality hasn't yet. For Violet, her powers are invisibility and force fields, which all relate to her wanting to close yourself away from the world. Force fields represent the barrier, how she wants to be alone without anyone getting close to her. This is shown through how she gets annoyed at the fact that they can't just be normal, and that she wishes she could just hide her superpowers and block anyone from knowing it like a force field does. Invisibility is for her to hide herself. We even see her using this power of invisibility to do exactly that, hide herself. In the first scene we ever see Violet in, she's wanting to tell Tony that she likes him. She turns invisible when he's looking, as she's worried about what consequences that might lead to. These two powers both point towards Violet being closed in and not wanting anyone to help, as she's worried about what might happen if they do. And it's basically her entire arc of the first movie, for her to get over this fear. And there's a very simple metaphor Pixar uses with her long hair being across her face all the time in the first movie, as she wants to hide away and doesn't want anyone to see her. But by the end, she's accepted her powers fully, her hair is tied back, as she's a lot more confident, so she goes and talks to Tony. It's a perfect arc that Violet has, and that could explain what her fears are. So, what would scare Violet? Considering she's quite solitary and closed in, it could be either a monster who uses similar techniques like that. For example, one who quietly and carefully creeps up on the child. Considering Violet is already quite closed in, her worrying that someone else might be there could make her frightened, as she'd want to close in more. On the other hand, though, it could be the complete opposite, and the thing that scares her would be something out there, so a monster that would just suddenly come and roar at them. However, considering Violet has the superpower of a force field, having a monster that isn't secretive probably isn't the best idea. After all, we've seen Violet just use her shield to make someone fully go back after they hit it. She does it to Dash and the Flying Ship Syndrome's army users who are trying to kill her. So, in other words, I reckon Monsters Incorporated would want a quiet and really careful monster to go and scare Violet. So we need a monster that is very good at disguising themselves and very quiet and secretive when attacking, so that their prey aren't sure whether something actually is in the same room as them. And in fact, there was a perfect choice who fit the description absolutely perfectly, and that is no more than the villain himself, Randall. Now, we're not even sure that the Super Children definitely were scared by Monsters Incorporated or not. After all, these monsters have been worried for generations that if a human child lays a single minuscule touch on you, then you could die instantly. I mean, look at all the trouble they go to when they have a 2319, which is no more than just a child's sock. They take precaution extremely seriously, as they're scared even a small child could kill them. When you add the fact that some children might have superpowers and could actually hurt the monsters who scared them would have to be incredibly skilled and brave, as this actually could be a life or death situation. There's even some people who believe that the monsters became more worried that humans are becoming harder to scare, and it's all because the monsters have worked out that some children have superpowers, but that's just another random theory. But bearing in mind, Randall is about to break the all-time scare record, a record that Dean Hardscrabble used to set. It makes perfect sense that Randall could be equipped enough to scare a super child, as he's the second most successful scarer of all time, only just behind Sully. And of course, the main point that gives it away is that Violet's superpower is invisibility, and Randall's is also invisibility. So it fits perfectly, which suggests why you could say that Violet is Boo, as we know Randall does scare Boo. However, there's just one bit that doesn't work with it. In a scene where Mike looks at a kid's file that Sully is about to scare, it shows a list of dates showing 1998 is the time they're going back in time to scare with. The Pixar theory suggests that the monsters are scaring in one moment in time that is running parallel to the human world. So every time a day goes by in the monster world, a day also goes by in the human world where they're scaring. Now, if this is true, then Randall can't be Violet's monster, as The Incredibles takes place in the early 60s, not the 90s, so Randall would probably still be in school. If you don't want to believe in the Pixar theory, and you believe that they can choose whatever time they go to using the doors, then it makes the most sense for it to be Randall. But if you do believe this idea that the Pixar theory suggests, then Violet would have to have a different monster. But if we go along the same ideas that they need to be really, really secretive, be able to disguise and hide themselves away, and be a really, really top scarer to be able to deal with a super child, and have to be a monster around the time when Randall was in school, then there's one very clear choice from way, way back in Monsters University. The first scarer Mike Wazowski ever meets, Frank McKay. Now, we don't know much about him, but we do get to see his scaring technique. He's very quiet and secretive, and we get to see how easily he hides away, as we see him hide from this child's parents when they come in, and he basically just disguises himself as a coat instantly. And according to his scare card, he is known for his agility and ability to disappear in a room, and is Monsters Inc.'s top scarer at the time, so he'll easily be able to cope with a super child. So guys, that's the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, make sure that you smash that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tell us in the field section down below what you think of this theory. Do you think that Violet's monster could be Frank McKay, or do you think that it could be Randall, depending on which moment in time you're on about? Or if you think it could be any other type of monster, make sure you leave what you think about this theory all down below in the comments. And while you're down there, why don't you suggest any other Pixar characters that you want us to do, whether their monster is this? Make sure that you leave it all down below. And as always, we've been here on Gate of Theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.